Hello and welcome to another standard video. Today we're checking out this blue, red and green or Temur colored dragon ramp deck, and one of the main payoffs we're building towards is Dragonback Assault, a 6 mana enchantment. When it enters a battlefield it deals 3 to each creature and each planeswalker, so that's a very nice board wipe effect. And then with the landfall, whenever a land enters under our control, we get to make a 4/4 flying dragon token. So that's the main win condition in this deck, which isn't always easy for a lot of decks to interact with, and we've got a lot of ways to put additional lands onto the battlefield to in the first place ramp out the assault, and once it's in play to generate lots and lots of 4/4 dragon tokens. So then taking a look at the rest of the deck, we've got some other dragons from Tarkir Dragonstorm, including the River Regent. Can use the Omen to draw 3 and discard if we need some more action, but we can also cast the 6 mana dragon, which can also bounce 2 opposing permanents back, so that can give us some more interaction. Then the Bloomvine Regent is also very flexible, as we can claim territory on turn 3 to find 2 forests, 1 in play, 1 in hand, and then later if we redraw the Regent after shuffling it back, we can just cast the 4/5 flyer that gains 3 when it and another dragon enters under our control, so that's also very synergistic with a Dragonback Assault, because with every dragon token we make we also gain 3 life, so that can be very nice against aggro. And then the Encroaching Dragonstorm also has great synergy throughout, can cast it as early as turn 3 in this deck, finding 2 basics to put on the battlefield tapped, and whenever a dragon enters under our control we get to pick up the Dragonstorm once again, so we can recast it, get more lands, and maybe get more landfall triggers off our Dragonback Assault as well. And then to ramp early in the game, we have the full set of Glimpse the Core, which will just find a basic forest to put on the battlefield tapped, so that can enable the turn 3 Dragonstorm already, or we can get there with a turn 2 Ironcrag, just have the 1 copy, also have 1 legendary creature to maybe turn it into an equipment in the late game. And then to give the deck a bit more card draw, we're running the full set of Up the Beanstalk, which as we all know is very powerful alongside the Green Overlord, which we can impend on turn 3, already drawing us an extra card and putting an everywhere land token on the battlefield, and those land tokens also trigger landfall, so there's plenty of synergy with the Overlord as well. And then I'm running 3 copies of Brotherhood's End, which is pretty well positioned at the moment as an answer to creatures and planeswalkers, but also can answer multiple artifacts with mana value 3 or less, so that can be a great answer to the blue-white synthesizer decks, but even against blue-red prowess it can answer 1 or 2 steel cutters that might be on the battlefield. And then topping off our curve, we also have a one-off Urani, the Song Unending, 8 mana, 10/10, and then has an immediate impact, dealing damage equal to the number of lands we control to opposing creatures and or planeswalkers, and has protection from white and black, so some decks can struggle to deal with it. And then of course a mana base is a big part of playing this deck, since we want to have as many basic lands in the deck as possible that we can keep searching up with our Regent and our Dragonstorm, but at the same time we also need a bit of mana fixing, so we can reliably cast a turn 3 Brotherhood's End when needed, or if we want to use the Omen on our River Regent, or just cast the double blue dragon. So that's why I'm still running the 4 copies of Riverpire Verge and Thornspire Verge, 2 Willow Rush Verges as well, and then the full set of Commercial District, which lets us surveil 1 when it enters, and then we do also have the full set of Fabled Passage, which can get our various basic lands, and that's also a way to trigger landfall twice on the Dragonback Assault, potentially in the opponent's turn as well, which maybe helps us play around a sweeper effect. And then we have 6 forests, need a lot of those to fetch with our Glimpse the Core as well, and then we've got 2 mountains and 2 islands, so we can always fetch for double blue or double red when needed. So we've got 10 fetchable basics total and 28 lands in the deck as a whole, which is a lot, but the deck does not want to miss any land drops, and lands in the late game are still fine with a Dragonback Assault on the battlefield. So yeah, that's our deck. Now let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Okay, we're on the play with a keepable hand. Fetch forest so we can beanstalk into Overlord. Facing black-red. And a freebooter. Could be a Sip-6 Ceremony deck. Don't have any enchantment removal, other than, I guess, Regent bouncing it, but that's going to be too slow, most likely. So yeah, this could be a tough one. Alright, they're playing Mountain, it's probably not a Ceremony deck, so it could just be black-red Sacrifice, which is probably much more beatable. So we'll stick to the plan with Overlord. Even though I could play another Beanstalk to draw even more cards, I think we'll be fine. And they're gonna cast another Freebooter after all. And that's fine. Picked up the Dragonstorm, so that's more mana. Although we're drawing all the basic lands, so we won't have many left. Hexmage can curse the Freebooter. And a Scavenger's Talent. So it wouldn't surprise me for opponents playing with a big snake. That can make us discard and lose a bunch of life. Assault is good to have. So how do we want to set up for that? I could Dragonstorm and then next turn we get to Assault and play a land afterwards. That seems decent. Yeah. And then if they do run out the snake, we can bounce it with a Regent as well. Take 4. And we get to untap. So then now it's just Assaults, play land and then Beanstalk, even though we miss out on a card. I value the 4/4 dragon more. Rainey's gonna be great too. Could see them sacrifice a creature in response, they don't. But they still get some leftover artifacts. Make a dragon, pick up the Dragonstorm, which we can still cast next turn to get our last 2 basics. And then a land makes an extra dragon. So yeah, this game's going to plan. Don't really mind if they remove my dragon token. Can make more of those. And a Go for the Throat will do exactly that. If the snake shows up, we're pretty happy to discard some of our Dragonstorm enchantments. But it's gonna be the Cutter instead. Still gets blown up by Brotherhood's End alongside these other artifact tokens. One card left in hand. They can get this to level 3. At 12 life we're relatively safe, but we can always play the Regents to gain more life with our dragon tokens entering. And yep, there's the Rottenmouth Viper that I alluded to. So our opponent could bring it back, sacking most of their board. And yeah, I could discard the Dragonstorm here, even though I do have a couple basics left. Next turn, my turn would be Regent, bounce Viper, and then Brotherhood's End to deal with the Cutter. Okay. Opponent gets to fill their graveyard some more. Gets to manifest. And we get to untap. And yeah. Stick to the plan, cast Regents. Draw some cards. I'm bouncing Viper and Talent. Make a dragon. And destroy artifacts. So we've dealt with pretty much the opponent's entire board. They can replay the Viper, potentially, but that's fine. Next turn we'll just play the Regents to gain some life back. And Urani could also just deal with the Viper by itself. So step 1 Talent. And they go for the throat on Overlord. No free dragons from the attack. Although another assault deals with manifest, and then a land would make a pair of dragons. Yeah, that's one approach. Versus casting the Regents, and then Glimpse gains me more life. Maybe gaining the life is the safer play. And could Overlord impend. And then if I draw an untapped land, I can still Glimpse. Or I guess I could just guarantee the land, assuming I have a forest left, which I should, by using the Omen. Although, let's see. I guess that kind of defeats the purpose, because then I don't have a land left for Glimpse. Alright, so that was maybe not ideal sequencing. Going for Overlord was probably better. But now I get to Surveil, still make a dragon, gain 3 life. And Dragonstorm is a dead card. So if I go for Overlord and draw into an untapped Verge, then I can Glimpse with a forest left, so we get to make an extra dragon. But I think we'll be fine. Yeah, it's possible we can squeeze in 1 or 2 extra basic lands in the deck. But that will make our opening hands a little less consistent. We might miss the double red for Brotherhood's End early. We may not have blue mana to use the Omen on the river Regent. So it's a bit of a give and take. Alright, and our opponent's given up. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. We have a fine hand. Do still need something a little bit more exciting than Regent and Overlord, but if we draw a Beanstalk, this hand gets a lot better. Now with a land we could Dragonstorm, so then we have a lot of mana to work with all of a sudden. Alright, there we go. And get Mountain Islands. So then all our colors are taken care of. Opponent with a Sawblade, so this is the blue-white artifact deck. Okay, time to draw Brotherhood's End, I guess. That's by far the best card in the matchup. And speak of the devil. Now I don't want to cast it just yet, we need to be quite careful with the timing. So for now, can get the Overlord going. Let them commit a few more artifacts. Peril Snare my Overlord. That's just going to trigger again once we destroy it. I think I can still wait one more turn, since we're not in danger of dying. So then cast Regents and Glimpse. We'll pick up the Dragonstorm as well. Need to make sure this Brotherhood's End is game ending and not merely a small setback. Now repurposing Bay, can sack the Sawblades, get another synthesizer, and then we'll be forced to Brotherhood's End. Our opponent's probably feeling on top of the world with their double synthesizer. Nothing can possibly go wrong. And we get to cast another Regent first as well. Gain some life. Hit for 4. And just at the last second, destroy all artifacts. And that'll do it. Awesome. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a keepable hand. Can fetch double red if we need to Brotherhood's End. Could do that now, or we could wait and see if we need to get blue mana. Although I might miss out on a turn 3 Brotherhood's End now. But yeah, if we glimpse on 2, then Fabled Passage might enter untapped. So then we can still Brotherhood's End on turn 3 after all. Just won't be able to Beanstalk into Brotherhoods. Okay, now I might want to get blue mana. So that works out. Still gonna glimpse first. And then next turn I could keep ramping with the Regents. So our opponent's Jeskai Colors. Yeah, it's not entirely clear if I should keep Brotherhood's End available, so maybe we can just wait on that decision. Opponent might have a counterspell. They do. Okay, so next turn we can Beanstalk. Or we can try this again. Run it back. That one resolves. And then I don't think I need Brotherhood's End. Let's just get an island and cast Beanstalk. And then if I cast the Assault, we'll get to draw another replacement card. And Fabled Passage can make a pair of dragons right away. Okay, let's see if they tap out. They don't. I mean, I can still cast the Assault. Maybe they don't fight over it, thinking they don't care about the Sweeper. I'll still get to draw a card. And then we can fetch end of turn, so we get to make a dragon token at instant speed. Opponent's gonna draw and discard with a Regent. So yeah, it's Jeskai Dragon Control. Could see Shiko get something back next turn. But then our 4/4s can still attack into a 4/5, and then Brotherhood's End can finish it off. Opponent passes. They could get lost my Assault in response, but want to get the second mountain now. And then step 1 Beanstalk. And draw a card. Alright, so we've got a couple options, but let's start by attacking. Opponent could easily be sitting on a board wipe, so then I don't want to go all out making more dragon tokens. So I think I just play a land and pass. I could Omen the Regent, could cast a Regent, play a land, so we could Glimpse, make another dragon. So we have a lot of options. Yeah, let's just play a land and pass. This is already presenting lethal. They might be sandbagging a board wipe. And then next turn I can get back on the board. 3 steps ahead to draw and discard. Nothing that they wanted to counter. And yeah, there's a Sunfall as we suspected. So now I kind of want to cast a Regent, so we trigger double Beanstalk as well. And if I do that first, we'll also gain more life of our dragon tokens. Probably should not have tapped my blue source, but we drew another one. So then I could still Regent at instant speed, or I could Glimpse to make another dragon token. Yeah, maybe that's still the priority, presenting lethal for next turn. And then I'm not sure if we want to cast the Regent or draw with it. Casting still draws 2, so that's pretty good. Yeah, opponent's got a Chandra. Brotherhood's End can finish off Planeswalkers as well. If they make mana, they could maybe double Lightning Helix to pad their life total some more. Looks like double Get Lost. So they have to target one of my creatures. Still have double Beanstalk. Okay, now triple Beanstalk. So let's cast that one first. And that's a lot of Brotherhood's Ends. So, yeah, I mean, casting Regent seems reasonable. And then I can ignore Chandra, just go face. Next turn, if they replay Chandra, they can have up to 4 mana. And not enough for another Sunfall. So, yeah, that seems fine. So let's just cast this, draw 3. Can still go exploring. And do another assault. So bounce and bounce. Don't need a Brotherhood's End. Any advantage to a 6/6 over a pair of 5/5s. There's no 5 damage sweepers, I don't think. Burn Down the House rotated out a while ago. Okay, and then maybe an untapped land here, so I can do it once again. So actually, instead of playing my 6-drop, I could have gone for lethal had I just explored and found a non-land on top. Then we just keep it 4 times and then that's 12 damage. So yeah, maybe casting the Regent wasn't necessary. But yeah, it's going to be tricky for our opponent to recover. Invasion, 2 mana left. And our opponent explodes. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw with a Keeper. Turn 2 Glimpse, turn 3 Dragonstorm. And we're off to the races, although facing blue-red prowess. So we're gonna need our Brotherhood's End. Well, it is lining up pretty well here, although we are taking a lot of damage in the meantime. That's where a turn 2 Pyroclasm would help out a little bit more. So hopefully they play more creatures as opposed to triggering prowess a bunch. And that's already 6 damage coming our way. A Monstrous Rage would be plus 6 damage for 1 mana. And a Cutter. Alright, could have been worse, I guess. Still take 9, and Cutter can represent more damage. So can't destroy artifacts with Brotherhood's Ends, need to go for creatures. Now Beanstalk plus Overlord's kind of a combo. A level up Talent, get back Sleight of Hand. And now I can Brotherhood's End the Cutter, which is probably worthwhile. And then we can just cast Overlord next turn. So let's see, this needs a mountain. The Regent can perhaps gain some life back, which will be needed to stabilize. Slickshot could just win the game here if they have a pump spell or a burn spell left. Alright, opt, so land into 1-drop wins the game. Well, looks like they found it, no? Just an attack for 5. Well, we can cast a Regent and gain 3. And take it from there. Keep Fabled Passage in case I draw the Assaults. Another Cutter. So next turn playing the River Regent could gain 3 more, never mind. Opponent's got the Bounce spell. And get in for 7, GG's. So yeah, we had a totally functional draw, but our opponent was on the play with an excellent hand as well. And yeah, that's just the power of the blue-red prowess deck, and part of why I wouldn't recommend playing Temur Ramp on the ranked ladder. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw with a keepable hand. Can fetch Forest, Glimpse on 2. Then maybe set up Beanstalk. and already have our assault. Fabled Passage is very synergistic with the assault, but ideally we can play it later. Opponent's black-green looks like they could be on a roots deck. Alright, now we'll be able to Encroaching Dragonstorm next turn, which gets us closer to the assault. Overlord to fill the graveyard. And yeah, there we see Tyvar, Scavenging Ooze. Well, as long as their creatures remain within range of the assault, we're happy. And this can also damage planeswalkers for what it's worth. So we'll fetch, can get an island. Cast a Dragonstorm. And this is pretty much the ideal sequence. Turn 2 ramp, turn 3 Dragonstorm, and then turn 4 we can cast the assault, and we even have a Fabled Passage to make a pair of dragon tokens afterwards. I'm okay if the Might blows up the Dragonstorm. Would have been a much better answer to the assault. Could have also baited out with Up the Beanstalk potentially. And there's Tyvar, can get the Might back, and I guess they'll still have the green mana available, but maybe they'll choose something else. Alright, Scavenging Ooze can only grow once, up to a 3/3. So yeah, this lines up perfectly. I'll wipe the board and make a pair of dragons. Opponent's gonna activate Ooze on the way out. And then we've got more ways to trigger the assault. Can maybe wait to make a second dragon. Alright, now I'll need to respond. So Might deals with assaults, but we still have some good leftovers. Can just cast the Regent, could play Up the Beanstalk first. Maybe go Beanstalk into Overlord. They're going through the graveyard, so they might have another Tyvar in hand. Alright, we get to untap. And yeah, I'll stick to the plan. Beanstalk first. If I draw an untapped lands, I might cast a Regent. Although honestly, going for Overlord might still be better. So can do that now. And I'm okay playing this out. Sometimes you want to hold it if you've got another landfall card in hand. So these dragons should close out the game pretty quickly. Picked up Brotherhood's End as additional interaction. And the Regent can also maybe bounce a Roots back. And there it is. So by exiling the Dream Thief, they make a plant. And we get to untap, and yeah, maybe just cast a Regent. Bounce both plants and roots, but yeah, opponent has seen enough. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a keepable hand. We've got double Glimpse to ramp out the assaults to try and stabilize. Beanstalk for card draw. Facing blue-black. I think I still Glimpse first. But then next turn I may want to Beanstalk plus Glimpse as opposed to going for the Regents. I see opponent's a mill deck. Well, that means we need to be careful with how many cards we draw. And resolving the assault is kind of the main mission. If they counter it, then we could struggle. So I guess we'll Glimpse and then draw, since I don't necessarily want to draw more lands. And let's see here. Okay, maybe hang on to Fabled Passage in case we can use it on the assaults. Although we will need to fetch blue mana to cast it in the first place. Opponent with a second monument, but at least they're tapped out. So once the assault's in play, just playing a land presents a threat. And we've got a bunch more ways to find lands in hand. Opponent passes with mana up. So now, let's see, I can both Dragonstorm and Impend the Overlord. Okay, maybe start here. Ideally, I Fabled Passage and sacrifice end of turn. So maybe I'll save Fabled Passage for next turn, assuming they wipe the board next turn. Looks like they might be picking a fight over the Dragonstorm, but that's fine. So they get to mill with monuments. We can still easily lose if they end up casting a couple sweepers to delay the game and then end up exhausting the monuments. Drawing Brotherhood's Ends, I guess, would deal with both of them. So that's our best draw. Step 1 attack. And then I can just cast the Regents. Maybe find our Brotherhood's End. If not, I can still Glimpse just to increase the pressure. And then play the passage, so end of turn will at least be left with a dragon. Sadly, the life gain doesn't matter here. Okay, so all our cards are pretty much on the table. Does our opponent have a cover-up to wipe the board? The fact that they didn't sack the clue and instead started milling sort of implies that they might already have an answer in hand. Yep. So 14 cards in graveyard, exhaust, exhaust again. So yeah, that's bad. Need to find an answer here, and there we go, perfect. Destroy all artifacts with mana value 3 or less, please. And that'll do it. Awesome, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a keepable hand. We've got the Beanstalk into Overlord Opener. Trying to ramp out the Dragonback Assault. And then the Everywhere token also fixes for the Verge lanes. Opponent black-green, could be mid-range. Could be black-green dragons for all we know. Never mind, Abzan. So yeah, stick to the plan. Ideally keep Fabled Passage in hand to trigger Assault twice. And a Spinner is next, okay, so this is a Sip-6 Ceremony deck, given the triple black. So our opponent could already combo off next turn, and sadly I don't have anything that can stop the combo until next turn with Regent or Assault. So yeah, we could just die. The best play to set up for next turn is probably just to ramp with a Regent as opposed to casting it. So then I can maybe Assault plus Fabled Passage. And we can also bluff having a counterspell in hand. But let's see if our opponent has it. Ceremony into some cheap creatures. They played a tap lane, so that's less likely now. Spinner attacks for 4. And a Scrapwork Mutts, okay. So we've been spared. So now I get to play the Assault into Fabled Passage. They do get to search up a creature. And we get to make a pair of dragons. They're also running the Invasion as another way to find Ceremony more consistently. Puppeteer, if it dies, gets back the spinner, but we can just fly over it. Alright, so now what's the best sequence? Don't have to bounce the Puppeteer, can keep Regent for maybe Ceremony. And then for now just cast a Regent, gain some life. Should have some forests left. So we're at 25 with 3 flying blockers, and we're presenting lethal for next turn. Overlord joins the fun. So yeah, if they have Ceremony, they need to go off right now. And without a spinner on the battlefield, that's a lot more difficult. But yeah, generally I think the Ceremony deck should have a favorable matchup against a ramp deck, since we don't have any real instant speed interaction. And we are giving them time to set up. No enchantment removal for the Ceremony itself. But yeah, if they can't find the namesake card, the deck doesn't do a whole lot. So I'm definitely not going to block. Otherwise they get the spinner back, which could be bad news. Although since they've already gone to the second main phase, we're in less danger of dying. And go for the Throat Overlord, still facing multiple dragons, so an attack should do it. Sweet. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a little bit of a slow one with no 2-mana accelerants, but plenty of 3-mana ramp to get the assault going. And then I'll say no to another Regent. For now, fetch islands. Facing blue-white, which variety? Could be artifacts. So Brotherhood's End would be a great pickup. Well, there it is. And Regent is not going to give me double red yet, but it does ensure a land drop for next turn. Still tempted to Overlord, and then next turn I can already Brotherhood's End if needed, but I can also Regent, and then still gonna take us an extra turn to cast the Assault. And yeah, United Battlefronts finds a pair of artifacts, presumably. Yep, Synthesizer plus Repurposing Bay. Yeah, Brotherhood's End has never looked better. But I don't need to cast it just yet. We can maybe wait another turn, and then for now I can Ironcrag, use the Regents. And probably fine to play the lands. So then next turn we can Brotherhood's End with a land, maybe cast another Overlord, get that going for the Assault. Since, yeah, the Assault's already not enough to deal with all the Construct tokens that they might generate. I imagine our opponent's getting a second Synthesizer here. I guess I will blow up my own Ironcrag here, but that's a price I'm willing to pay. Now Braided Nets. That's hitting me for 8 already. They could use a nut on the Iron Crag, but don't really expect them to. Okay, so goodbye artifacts. And goodbye opponent. So yeah, we got to see this Temur Dragon ramp deck in action, and the Dragonback Assault seems like the perfect curve topper for the archetype, giving us a way to stabilize while also generating a constant stream of threats that may be harder for other decks to interact with than just playing a bunch of big creatures. So yeah, I'm quite happy with where the deck ended up. It will still struggle in the best of one metagame on the ranked ladder, since the Prowess aggro deck is a pretty bad matchup, Omniscience combo is pretty much unwinnable, so there's definitely a few of those matchups out there, but against slightly slower creature decks we can usually take over the late game. So yeah, that's gonna do it for today's gameplay. Wanna thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day.